Alrighty, so I've merged in your repo to the main repo,
Yep,
and
I saw that, and I've got that repo now, seen where you put it, the
yep,
reasoning.
yep,
Um, had to install a couple, well, one extension onto Cursor in order to pull requests, and I've just done a test pull request. So,
yeah, I mean, you don't have to, that's
oh well, okay.
optional.
I thought I would anyway.
Yeah, so your branch is the reasoning branch. I'll stay on the next branch. Um, the main branch
Yeah,
is locked, so you can only push to main with a PR, and that's how we
yep,
should do it.
yep, yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Um,
so
just out of curiosity,
yep,
so you'll see, I just did that exactly what you just said.
yep,
Created a file test.txt,
yep,
um, pushed it to main, accepted on PR, then deleted it. Can you see all that? Yeah. Oh, there it is.
yeah. There it is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that
Um,
works.
the pull
That's fine.
request, the pull request process is a bit dirty because I put in a lot of continuous integration tests on that are not as relevant for the work you're doing. So,
Yeah, and
um,
I came very close to actually doing a pull request to Denoland.
yeah, I know it's a known
It's like,
it's actually yeah it's a known
guys.
bug. It's a known bug in GitHub that makes it too easy to PR against the thing that's way
Yeah,
higher than you. So
I caught it in time, but
yeah,
it's
well,
like,
I'll
who
see
are
how
these
we go.
guys? I got reviewers, and it's like looked up one of them. It's like, I don't know you.
I don't know you.
You probably don't want to know me.
No. So what we'll do, I figured we'll just bumble along like this, and then once we understand more about what the reach of our tooling can be, then we'll make some config changes. The last thing I want to spend time on is actually uh, repository management. To
Yeah,
be
no,
to
no.
be fair,
I think this is a huge leap forward from my point of view because now inside of Cursor I can actually refer to stuff.
yeah, it's important. I think the main lesson is that we work together, us two, because being in it forces us to both be a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Um,
So in the spirit of that, if you go into reasoning, I'm hoping it's survive the merge, and I remember where it is. If you go into reports, I think no, it's reports. Is what I did. Where did it stick this fucking thing?
I removed the briefing because the briefing looked like it was just concats.
Ah, okay, right. The briefing had the outputs as well.
Where it didn't have it
Um,
in any of the files.
I've still got reasoning around in the other one. Give me 2 secs.
I saw something that
Right.
looked like in the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, that's where I stuck it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I split out the purely dynamically created files because
yeah. Please don't commit those because they waste a lot of space and they make a lot of noise when you're searching for stuff because they show up in
yeah,
searches.
yeah. So that's fine. But this is the plan based on our last transcript. It's pretty raw because I was just looking at my stuff today, which was basically get ready for the merge um, and use Commander in order to generate something that we've got that looks like stocks. So um, probably needs to be tidied up, or certainly will be. But my next task, I think, is to move on to Commander to make it more tidy than this. Now, there's a couple of things.
Yeah,
You see these references. I
yeah.
found it very useful to keep intact from the transcript to the
Oh, like
squash
references.
transcript. Yeah,
Yeah,
to the
okay.
summary,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because then you can go to minute 45, 50 and
Yeah.
go, what did we say again? You go back to the video and you go, all right, yeah, okay,
Oh,
got it.
that's cool.
So that was quite a useful
All
one.
right. Can I suggest that you rename this file to be just summary because
Um,
you've got the name of the thing there.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of rule for the structure. So in data transcripts, inside of the file, oh sorry, the folder, everything has a summary.md, but it
Yeah,
doesn't have all
they just don't need to put the name
the
twice. You know,
yeah, okay, yep, yep, that's good. I can do that.
resources based on value units. Hmm. Yep, we did say that.
We did say that. Yep.
Hey,
Don't know how to do it yet. That's
don't
fair enough.
know. Okay, I saw a file in here that was sort of trying to give a format for the stux. I
Yeah,
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 I'll handle that one just
okay,
because just because it's actually kind of a gnarly data structure
yeah.
because it what I think you got to do is you have the stuck is very simple and it's really just like references to context like
Mm-hmm.
could
Can
be
you
a
pull it up so you can
pull what
look
up.
at that format?
I don't have it.
Because
I don't have it. I'm sorry. I've been there's like a lot of stuff that's in my head and I'm like
uh,
I need to spit it out. Which you wanted the format that I'm talking about right now?
no, 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 the format that I made so that I can compare and contrast.
Sure. Okay. Okay. I
So
don't know
it's
where it
inside the
is.
reasoning. It's inside the reasoning. Stux probably.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I
Uh,
misunderstood you. All right.
I did a lot of
Stucks.
I did a lot of restructuring yesterday.
Stuckity
Uh,
stuck. No, no.
yeah, me,
Oh god. And I also ate too many strawberries. Um,
no, where the bloody hell is it? No, that's not it. Okay,
mate,
don't worry about it. Okay,
you
we'll
made
just go
this
from
thing.
fresh.
You made this thing.
Yeah,
Where's
you read it. You read the stuck format. Where is it?
well,
Oh, you didn't delete it.
no, I did not. I didn't. I'm not. I'm very good at not doing that. That's you that does that.
No, no, no. Because you read it. So, and I've been asleep. Um, there, it's stuck format.
No.
Nope, nope, nope. That's not the one. Okay, don't worry about it. Taking too much time. Right, tell me your thoughts about stucks because I need a stuck format because I'm creating. As you can see, Commander creates a lot of stucks. I need
Yeah.
something a format to put them into.
Okay, so
And you're saying it's
all right, so I made a list of stucks for me that were here, and this was the original list. One of
okay.
my stucks is the stucks data structure. Um,
Okay.
Now, the key to that is so it's not about see the issue
Well,
with the
wait a
format.
second. If you flip back, that's the
Yes,
one.
yes, I know,
That's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Sorry.
know. So the
Uh,
issue here is that it holds in this. If this was one piece of data, like I don't debate that these are like the things you need to have presented to you when you read from a stuck,
mm,
but the way that they get stored underneath is very subtle. So they don't. You can't have them have like this. This needs to be an external piece of data that points at it, as
okay.
opposed to
All right. I'm finding it very useful to actually say things out loud because then the commander can reason about them. So we're talking about reasoning domains innovation stuck hyphen template.md, and you said this. You meant cost. No, current
look. I don't want
situation.
to. I don't want. This is going to be a very painful conversation to be talking like that. All I want. I don't want to detail out the format now. That is a task that needs to be done.
Mm.
But I
Uh,
won't. I can't do it in this call. It's a
yeah, no worries. So, right. My question to you is: Commander's generating, as you saw, 1920 stocks from our previous transcripts.
yeah. A lot.
Um,
Maybe too many.
I need to, in order to move on with the commander, I need him to be able to see what the stocks are. In order to reason about them, I need therefore something format, and it could be
This is good
I could
enough.
just make it up.
What you got right here is good enough.
Yep.
Just don't like this is too detailed. Like you don't need you've it's almost like you've tried to make headings. Like the less headings and the less format the better. And if you can actually get it so that it's the LLM that flops, like to try and get what the flop of the LLM is for its format. Like if you're
So I
talk
don't understand what's a flop.
the flop of
That
the
sounds like
LLM is when you give it no constraints, where does it naturally go to for a format?
oh, I see. All right.
Like
Yeah.
where does it flop? Like where does it just if you where does it just land? Like this is you adding in everything you can think of, right?
Well, actually, this was Commander saying this is what he needs to know for a stuck.
Yeah, it's funny how your commander sounds like you, but
Yeah, that's
um,
because it's at the end of a long thread. Yeah.
yeah, a very thin um, yeah, you're gonna have to make do for now. I guess what this conversation can serve to is like is does it mean that the Stux format is now more important than other things? Because if it's like if that's the thing that's holding you up, then that's the thing I need to do, right?
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about that. No, I don't need a Stux format because I can go with this, and then we can translate across if we get more precise into a folder structure or graph. Um, but I do need
How it's
some way of translating or saying when the commander says, okay, you've got 20 stocks,
yeah.
um, we know quite a few things that we want to know about that, but we don't know the structure yet. So I'm okay to roll in the mud for a while with this. So this is not something you should be thinking about as changing
Um,
priority, but it
I can
is
tell you
over
some
to you.
basics about how the format's going to go.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
It's
really
gonna
useful.
be
Yeah.
it's gonna be one file per stuck. So this list needs to become one one individual file.
Yep. Yep. Makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, each one needs an ID number, so just numerical counters is fine. Um,
Any preference, just so I don't go wildly off range. Um,
just natural numbers.
do
Just
you
start at
care?
one.
Natural
Just
numbers at the as a prefix.
yeah, just so that it has a stable ID. That's all. Because
Yeah. Okay.
the title needs to be able to change, but I still need a hook to be able to know which one you're stably talking about.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Happy with that.
Um, the the concept of dependencies, you could add that in there as just markdown links, where you link to um, another
Yeah.
item.
I've actually prompted for that, and I got references out, which was like, it's not really a
Yeah,
dependency
no, it's not.
because there's no existing stocks to reference against.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Can't argue with that. Um, and then, do we have any such concept as a solution?
A
Because
solution is
what's the
a stuck resolves into a nap. So you could,
yeah, but it doesn't always though, does it?
well, a solution, if it's not an app, what is it?
Well,
As in,
a solution is a unit of contribution that solves a stuck. It might not be a nap.
well, the solution of an app.
What?
Sorry, solution of a stuck.
Yeah.
Sorry, solution of a stuck resolves into a nap.
No.
Otherwise, there's no done. There's no output.
No. The solution of a stuck is not a nap. A nap can solve a solution. A nap can solve a stuck. It can be a solution to a stuck, and a nap can also solve many stucks. But it is not. It is not true that the antimatter of a stuck is a nap.
So, how what would a solution look like in terms of text? What we're talking about as far as a solution?
You mean a
As
definition of what does a solution look like?
yep, yeah.
I would say that it is Oh, here we go. We've called them solutions, but we haven't defined solution. Assess the solution. Ensure the solution.
This is quite tight, isn't it? I'm quite enjoying this. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what is a solution versus a nap? A nap is like an output, I guess, and a
Well,
solution may involve more things,
I
of
don't
which
know.
a nap is one type. Um,
I don't know.
oh, this might be my Jesuit upbringing, but I'm quite enjoying this.
Jesuit. You mean like those women in Dune?
No, no, Jesuit as in the I'll tell you later. Is the
Oh, no, sorry,
intellectual
that's the Bene
uh,
Jesuit. Sorry, my bad. It sounds it's
Jesuit.
similar, right? In vector space, it's roughly
It's basically similar. Yeah.
yeah. So
It's
I don't
around there.
know. Yeah, I don't know exactly the answer for you, but I feel like I've painted around the edge there enough that Pro could figure it out.
Can you give just a real raggedy arse idea of what a solution would be
Yeah.
that's not a nap? Just
Um.
one.
Yeah. 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 We have a scheduling problem where we're tight for time and we struggle to have overlap because we're on opposite sides of the earth. A solution might be a timetable for you that makes sure that the other items in your life don't
I
overflow.
see. I see. So, right. I think we need to then widen what I've been talking about as stocks, because stocks are quite tightly defined, as you see, as leading on to an app. But
No,
what you're
no,
saying
no,
is
no, no, not
we
not
got a
in
problem. We got a problem, of timing, and
this
then
this definition doesn't talk about it being a nap.
uh, no, because it's the template. Where are you?
This is the
Definition
definition.
stuck.
The definition of stuck.
Oh yeah, that I think that's quite old actually.
Well, that's not my
Um,
problem, is it? That's your
yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the
And how can
okay,
it be
so
old if it's in the repo? Like, where's the new one?
because I've not done it yet. However, right,
Oh, it's old because you
there
thought of
is.
something new. Is that what makes it old?
This is why we need a process, right? So, a stuck. Currently, the way I'm thinking about this is a stuck is the progenitor of a nap. Now,
What
what
does
you're saying
progenitor? Wait,
is
what does progenitor mean?
is something that's required. It's a prerequisite, and it produces a
Yeah,
nap when
so
it's sought.
it's necessary for a nap.
Yeah. Now,
Well, that's not entirely true because it could exist and it be a problem with an existing nap.
well, I think this is what we are saying, isn't it? Because a problem with an existing nap might not actually produce another nap. A
No,
problem with an
it's just a
existing
patch.
nap might be, guys, the
Could be a
laws just
patch.
changed and we don't need this. Or
Yeah,
there's a whole
yeah,
bunch of
yeah, yeah.
woolly
So
stuff.
like nap is just nap is a form of packaging solutions on the Dreamcatcher platform for executables, but there's many other forms of solution that can occur. And the idea really is that many of these stacks can be met by composing existing naps together just in time, maybe. You know,
Yeah, but interestingly enough, one of the examples when actually to give a really raggedy one was about organizing our time.
yeah,
Now that sounds a little bit like in this world that we're in as an issue or a problem
yeah.
that can be resolved, but the resolution doesn't actually have a text file at the end of it. There's no hard output to. Well, there might be.
There'll be
But
there's always a state change. I think that's a necessary. It can't be a solution without a state change. So some kind of contribution has been made.
Right. Yeah. And this is the thing. So, but you're talking about stocks actually being broader in that they're a bit like, oh shit, I've got a problem here.
Well, that's what they are, and that's what even these ones are.
But the thing with your example, and I think you're onto something here. I think we should do this, but just to get my head around it, um, previously stocks were a bit like, I want this nap to exist, so I'm going to define the nap,
That's
or
just one
how we would
aspect
do it,
of them.
or
That's a
something.
subset. That's a subset of what a
But
nap is.
say if you widen that to the williest thing, I want all of my family to love all the Christmas presents that I want. Otherwise, I'll be sad. To get as willy as possible. I'm being facetious, I know. Um, Now, the thing that you just said was important. It's like it needs a state change. That state change may not be a nap. It will, but the necessary thing is once it's resolved, or if it's partially resolved, then it ends up as a contribution, which is an output. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I can roll with that. It's really willy still, but I can roll with that. Yeah.
So what are we trying to do here?
Well, what I've done yesterday, as you see in the report, um, the different cuts and pastes and so on was to use Commander in order to produce this thing. Sorry, not this thing. Yeah, no, this thing. The plan. And in that plan, as we agreed, my first objective was to prepare the repo and the commander and use the commander, and then the next part is to refine the commander. Refining the commander is probably an ongoing task that never ends, but that was my tasks. So I'm reporting
Yeah.
to you that I prepared the repo and we merged. It doesn't seem that there's many problems on your side with. I made a lot of changes. I was a bit worried that I was changing too much. But
No,
it
the
seems
problem is actually that even though I tucked it into one nap, the reasoning area is actually several naps. Like it's like
well.
each domain should be its own nap.
Yes. Okay, so hold that thought because I had that same one. But in the interest of discipline, so the if you go back to the plan, um, you had the commander saying these are your things to do. If you go right up to the top, I think we got the prioritized without prompting anything. This is just our narrative and so on. So deliver the trucking app was the first one. Okay, so I'm sorry, man. You asked for it. You said yesterday be the PM. So
Yeah, I did, but I'm
uh,
asking you, what are we doing right now? What are we
we're
trying to do right
doing
now?
right now. We're segmenting. So we did partial notices. Now we're doing the PM bit. So you update me on what you've done over the last day, so that the commander knows about it.
Okay. So over the last day, I reviewed all the commits that you made over the previous day to make sure that the commits were valid. I pointed out the problems that were there in them, and then I merged in the reasoning repo into the naps repo as its own nap, even though we know that within it is actually multiple naps. But I'm not quite sure how we split those out just yet. And
Okay.
maybe we don't until we're ready.
Okay. Cool. Then what I suggest is on these ones.
But I did some other things as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Please mention them. Yeah. Let the commander know.
I um, upgraded the I upgraded the website or the MCP. Uh, what's it called? The the chatbot, the web UI. I
Hmm.
upgraded it to because there'd been some upstream changes, and I tested the integration with O1 because O1 is available now. I wanted to make sure I understood how that API worked. Um,
Okay.
I then read more of the API docs um, with OpenAI. Um, I had fuck, it feels like I did a lot today, but it was kind of all over the place. It was so poking around with that UI and then trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out what stux I need to be able to do the CRM, and in particular, how does the UI work? So here's the list of stux that I came up with.
We're in search to get the CRM.
Yeah,
Okay. Yep.
but you should. I
Was
think
was this generated or was this you typing?
no, this was me typing, and so I sent it over to you in a link that was a GPT link, and so you should definitely include that as context in the
Okay,
command to
and
update.
I'll read and understand as well at the end of this. Yep.
Yeah, and so I think what I want is for you guys to ask me more about to basically reconcile or reason through all these stocks because some of them feel important to me, but they could be deferred, right? Like billing on the front end. I mean, O1's fiendishly expensive, and so like, do we just close it down from anyone else using it? But then it's like, you use it, and
So
then
so the aim here, if I understand you, is we're talking about the CRM trucking guys, which we can contract separately for billing, and
no,
have
I
a
meant
line in there.
no, I meant billing for actual tokens usage on the front end. So
Um, yeah,
inside,
but if the only app we've got is the trucking app, then we could at the end of the month add in to the invoice you've used these tokens
no, but like
and pass
you
them
need
through.
to. This platform here is where we're gonna put the naps, and so you're gonna need to use them. I'm gonna need to use them. Don't we want other people to also be poking around?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not saying that we don't need it. I'm just thinking about priorities. Uh, in order to get the trucking app, we wouldn't need that payment inside of the UI. We would need some form of payment if it's only the trucking guys, which is the aim at the moment. But
yeah, that's
as
true.
soon as we get two,
Yep, that's
yes,
true.
we absolutely do it.
That's true. So yeah, there is actually this thing here, O1. The reasoning it has a bug in it at the moment, so it doesn't work. But it's more or less there. Put it
Okay.
that way. Yeah. So so that got
What's
updated today.
what's the bug?
The bug is it doesn't work.
All right. Okay, that's a
That's
big one. All right.
yeah,
Fair,
because what's
fair
the
one.
story behind it is that this system is does streaming. So you go hi, and then it comes back with oh, that was too fast, but it does stream the response in.
Mhm.
Whereas the way that OpenAI have released O1 to the API is that it doesn't do streaming at first, and so this front end isn't built to handle non-streaming, and that's why the fault occurs.
Can I ask you then what your thoughts are in its strategy? Is it to build the trucking app
Mm-hmm.
and then retrofit it
Oh,
to
that's a
another
really good
user?
question. That's a really good question because it speaks to the architecture of how the tracking app will be delivered. I will confess that I am trying to do it using components that are long standing for us, if only for the fact that I've thought a lot. We have thought a lot about how to deliver the tracking app as part of the standard Dreamcatcher platform user interface.
Yep.
And I'd started doing that work on the UI reasoning, but I haven't really spent the time to get the UI reasoning going good.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that you would be able to get the UI reasoning going at some point so that there could be a correlation between the stucks that relate to UI and functionality and the internal well-reasoned model of the UI in ASCII format that could relate the stucks to the thing.
Yeah, that seems
You know, so like
reasonable. That
if you could
seems
get the
reasonable.
stucks to talk about pure functionality that was required, then the commander should be able to convert the pure requirements into a specific requirement on the UI, I would imagine. Um,
So for the UI, for example, you'd say we need a button that says, I don't know, show me invoices for this customer.
right.
Um,
And then the reasoning would figure out, okay, we got this UI. It's fiendishly complicated. Where's the best place to put that? Okay, now that we've got it there, now the stuck can be narrowed in scope and be like, in this area and only this area, we want to do this thing.
okay.
The overall format, though, is that what I'm hoping, I can't say that I haven't mapped out succinctly yet, but what I'm hoping is that it's all about these little widgets on the state board. So when the state board comes up, you have this widget, and whatever functionality you're trying to do, for pretty much everything, it would be a new widget.
As in generated just in time.
No, the widgets would be unique to you could you I could imagine you composing widgets, but I think that's a bit much to try and hit
Yeah,
right now.
I agree.
Um, but for example, see here, number 14 in the Stucks list, use the live search widget to let us search Stucks and solutions. That's the same as the live search widget for quickly locating a customer. So
Hmm.
just because the widget's not just in time, it can be configured just in time to do a range of different things. Sort of
Yeah,
like how
because
a file
widget,
browser.
yeah, the widget has a target. Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and what I'm getting at is that when there's a new type of functionality that's required, I would expect that it be at most, it just be we need a new widget.
Okay. And so to roll back to what we're talking about on your priority list, are you asking for me to go through that in human form and propose um, the ordering of it?
Yeah, but also the definition of it as well, and the reasoning
Okay.
behind it, because I think using the commander takes a lot of the burden off you to do all the legwork and the reconciliation and the endless like rewording and wordsmithing to
Yeah,
generate.
yeah, yeah.
You
No, no,
know,
I wouldn't, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't actually type anything.
no, all you got to
I've been
do is
talking to
just
the thing. I've been talking to the thing.
all you got to do is just ask questions that don't make sense to you about things that I said that are like, buddy, you were talking about this bit and that bit. That's really what I think the job is. Because
Okay,
if
so yeah.
yeah,
So that would be the most useful thing for your path, your current work path, would be
yeah,
to go through and reason
because it's
with
really,
all that
if it is really
about that.
hard. It's really hard to have like a blank page and be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah,
you know,
blank pages suck, don't they?
there's this bit and there's that bit, and like I need to poke at this and poke at that, and having a report on what I did in a day is great actually, because I'm like, well, shit, I was trying to do this. I was looking at incorporating privy accounts. Um,
What's a privy account? Just for my own.
well, the privy accounts was a way to originally started as a way to be able to let people log in with their Ethereum wallet address if they wanted.
Oh, I see. So it's a pass-through account. It's like
Well, it's a form of authorization, because I don't really trust the authorization that came with the template for the UI that I'm using. It's
hmm
probably okay, but I would rather that it be something a little more robust, like Privy.
hmm
And Privy just sort of like Privy handles all the crappy stuff like password resets and refreshing the credentials if they're stale, detecting if someone comes in from Nigeria versus all their other access was from
Yeah,
Scotland,
all that. Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. And I'm like, you could argue the same thing as with billing. With one customer, we don't need it. And so I guess that answers the question. It's not needed now, um, but at some point it will be needed to actually be professional and secure.
So can I just clarify this? Stuck to get the CRM is in priority order, or
No,
is it just
it's just in what came to mind first.
and so is it a useful thing to go through reason with the commander for what the priority
Oh
is
yeah.
and what
Oh,
the
absolutely,
overlaps are?
absolutely, yeah. And what the dependencies are, what the duplications are, what the sort of the sizes or the complexity. Like some of them should be broken down more.
Yep.
Um, all that's
And
incredibly useful.
and obviously you've got one line on each billing in the UI. Doesn't have much information for it to get its teeth
Yeah,
into.
yeah,
And
that's
it's
right,
like,
that's right.
can you give us a bit more information about that? And
Yeah,
then we can cycle around.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
idea. And then my hope is that using this strategy, we can flesh out all the details within these things, reason it through, deduplicate it, but like that seems so much easier than having to actually do all that stuff manually.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's all, no
Um,
one's arguing that project management is a useful thing. It's just a pain
well,
when you got to
and it's
do it
all
manually.
well, it's also the error bars are so huge that nobody actually believes
No.
anything's going to be delivered
Yeah. And so
on
that's
time.
to add a further detail to the data structure for the stacks is that the relationship or the dependency needs to be stored separately to the data about the stack, because the relationships need to update frequently, um, because the stack itself may not have changed, but the stacks around it might have changed, and so the inward and outward dependencies, like upstream and downstream dependencies, can be changing all the time. The stack itself never changed, and so the data structure should reflect that. Now,
So,
uh,
uh,
one more complication to that is
mhm.
that there can be multiple valid different views on the dependencies. And so that is a case where you have a fork of the collection of data objects that hold the dependency information, and a fork is when there's a unreconcilable conflict between two different views on what the dependencies are. And that's valid.
Mm,
That's an entirely valid thing to have.
mm, mm. It does.
And that's why
Pause.
it needs to be separate. The stuck itself.
Sorry, pause. Yeah, okay. That speaks to a graph database as well with weights.
But it's different. It is a graph, but it's also like a multi level graph. So
Oh yeah, that's what the weights are there for. So obviously you can have minus weights as well as positive weights, and you can show which ones are actually in conflict and which ones are the most optimal based on what we know at the moment. So how close is this dependency to what's actually needed?
So that's extra complication in the data structure there. Um,
Well, weights are really useful for
uh,
AI because it can get its teeth
that
into.
yeah, that let's not go into that because that's actually we don't need that piece for our purposes because there's only two of us.
Yeah,
But I'm
no,
just
true.
indicating that that's why the dependency needs to be a separate piece of
Yeah,
data. That's all.
I'll park that as an idea that we can come back to in the future.
Mm.
Um,
Is what
so
I'm doing now going through these stacks and just fleshing out a bit more information in voice, or is that useful?
um, uh,
Because it's way
no,
easier just to talk about this stuff than
yeah,
to
yeah. Well, let's do it because uh, so I
like.
want to talk about your comments over WhatsApp about the folder structure. However, that's all I've left to talk about
All
because
right.
next I'm going to be going in and putting up shitty stocks from what it's generating, and you've got a whole bunch of stocks here
Yeah, I
on
don't know.
my
But
WhatsApp.
now that I start talking to you about the stocks themselves, I think the folder structure matters way less. I mean, it's kind of like just go for your life, basically. Are you happy and content to stay in that one folder for now?
I'm content for that because
Yeah. Okay.
we're not going to get past 200 stocks easily, you know. Um,
You'll be good up to 10K in that one folder.
yeah.
Um. All right. So what are we doing now then? I've
So
told you sort of what I did today.
yeah. So the thing I want to go through is your comments on the folder structure because there's some in there, and we can get to some agreement, and also some advice from you would be useful because I'm noob with GitHub
Okay.
relatively
Okay.
compared to you. Um, right now, I think give a voice read through of those stocks
All
for the
right.
CRM, and then then at
Okay.
least I can create those stocks,
Okay. Okay.
or the commander can.
Okay. Um.
So right,
So let's just get agreement though. The primary stuck that we're trying to get to have solved right now between you and I is the delivery of a target date for when the CRM can be delivered, right?
yes,
That's the thing we
and
want, yeah?
yep, and we got as parallel, but kind of contingent, is the folder structure and improvements on the commander, so that we're not having to do it by hand.
Right, yeah,
But
but
the whole point is the
yeah.
CRM.
The whole
Yeah,
point is the CRM.
yeah,
The short term goal right now
yes,
is the
yeah,
target date, delivery of a target date for the CRM.
yes, which requires us to know what the CRM is,
Yeah,
get estimates, maybe
yeah.
talk about value, maybe get a side hustle in terms of some of these stocks are useful elsewhere.
Yeah, like
But
while we're
yeah,
planning it, obviously we want um, pieces that are reusable. The biggest question for us to answer or have a handle on is this concept of using Git as a database for artifact and for users having shared repos between participants. Because
okay,
a shared repo, the CRM would be running as a shared repo where all the logged in users are pointing at this one repo. And so,
hmm
for the sake of time, Artifact is being muted to not do the execution. The execution is happening on the front end server, and the front end
okay,
server makes the calls out to the AI, and when it gets the result, then it stores it in Artifact. And so it's not using Artifact as the execution, it's doing the execution itself using classical code or conventional code, non-blockchain code. That also means that it has limited parallel call capabilities.
Hmm.
And
I think in terms of expediency, that's fine,
yeah,
but we'll need to revisit. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So that gets us up and running as presenting something useful. And that makes Artifact look purely like a database, but it still has AI in there and it still has this ability to fork. And then so the fork occurs, the AI does work. When the AI is comfortable that it needs to merge back, then it does a merge back into main, and now the main branch of the production data is updated.
Yeah, I think that's good enough for now.
Good enough for now, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so the call, I guess, is like, man, should we just use a traditional database, or should we stick it out with the Git thing? I'm inclined to stick it out with a Git thing because it does mostly work, or it definitely works already. And I'm converting it to run naps is the task, I guess.
Using Git would be my preference
Why?
um, because of the history that's available.
Oh yeah, the historical stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the database is a bit of a nightmare for that one.
Databases don't remember anything. Well,
Oh, that's
sort
harsh.
of, but
That's sort of bit
you
of a
can, but it is a pain in the arse.
yeah. Okay. One might argue all they do is you mean remember history of how.
Yes, it can log to its heart's content, but reasoning about the context around a change in
Right.
terms of, a contribution, nah, that would be hard.
Right. Um. So the NAP CLI tool sort of felt like because there's a grouping of these stacks where some of it's the internal tooling for us
Hmm.
so that the commander works better, so that my coding using O1 works better. There's that thing, but that's dangerous because it's a bit of a trap. Like it can be time consuming if we hit snags there. They're not, like we could say that we just do the CRM using copy paste from O1 Pro, you know,
Yeah. Uh,
because the gamble is it faster to build the tooling, or is it faster to just manually that the age old question where like do you get in the car and drive to this place, or is it
yeah.
faster if you just start walking right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Do you sharpen your saw or just put more effort in?
Yeah, right.
Uh,
So how do we
um,
choose that sort of thing? I mean,
my So that would provide us the nap to nap call. That I mean was one of right at the top of my Christmas list.
yeah. So here I've
Um,
got nap to nap calling via plain text.
yep, yep. How does that differ from nap CLI tool?
The CLI tool is simply the thing that takes your CLI commands, turns them into a JSON object, and executes the nap.
So
Um,
they two are kind of holding hands, aren't they? They're
they're,
very
they're
close.
very close to each other, but nap to nap is, I don't think it's a very big deal at all once you have naps. Like, naps at all is like the
Mm.
same, like it's only like 1% more effort to do nap to nap. But the issue is that I think what you really want is you want nap to nap happening in the platform, not on your
So
local computer, right?
yeah, so here's
That's
here's a
what you really want.
compromise. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
But
Here's a sorry.
could I get away with doing nap to nap on the front end server and then just storing the result in Artifact, or do you really want the genuine, like how much does where the execution happen matter to you really?
No, I'm completely agnostic on that. I don't
Okay.
really care.
All right, so I could do
Uh,
nap to nap on the front end in the front end serverless functions
yeah.
on Vercel and then store the output on in Artifact on Deno.
Right, yeah, because what one is a nap asking another nap saying, "What time is it?"
Yeah.
The time nap comes back saying, "It's this." It's like, yeah, great. I don't really care where it executes.
Yeah, true. You do care that the output was stored, and you care that you can see the communication pathways in between as well, though, right?
Yes, links and storage. Absolutely, that's
Right.
it. Where do you stuff it?
History and storage.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What do you want the history for?
That is back in my head in terms of uh, um, rerunning, modeling. But that is a second order kind of
Maybe you
thing.
don't care about
That's
history up front.
I probably don't. I probably don't.
Yeah,
I probably don't.
because that's the
Rollback would be useful, but
yeah, but
even that's
rollback of the execution stack or rollback of the production data state.
the
You know,
production
like
data state
yeah,
because
that's different, right? Because what you're
yeah,
asking for is very close to having a full blown debugger where you can trace and replay how the naps talk to each other, which I want
yes,
and you want, but we
yeah,
don't need that now. I
we
guess is
don't.
the
No,
ugly truth.
that's probably going to be Easter. That's not Christmas.
How would you know that?
Yeah, because I just stated it.
If only saying it made it true. Okay. A shared repo between participants, that feels like I could hard code it
Um,
so that there's only this one repo for the CRM guys, but it sort of feels more elegant to allow multiple repos and then you share it with a user.
mm,
Because
so
we would use multiple repos. So like that would number 18 would be part of the tool as well as being part of the CRM solution, and that's where it starts to get blurry because
yeah, yeah,
right
exactly. That's what we are talking about earlier on.
these are good
Um,
ones actually because they're like their worst case is a simplified version that works for the CRM, but their best case is a tool for us as well, and that's why I think that that's a good strategy to take, right? Like some of these things are only good for us, and some of them are good for the CRM too.
well, the easy path is if it's good for us and it's good for them, then we should
Then
do it
do it, eh?
first,
That's basically
right?
the rule, I think.
Now, there's also other rules here.
Oh
If
god.
there's some that have no value to us but are essential to the CRM, they need to be done because our aim
Yeah,
is to get the CRM done.
right. I can't. So if you say to me that we're gonna use Git as the
Mm,
database, we're gonna use Artifact without the execution layer, then
mm.
every single thing that the CRM uses is gonna be good for us.
Um, yes, but it will not. It will be pause. It will be necessary but not sufficient for us,
Yeah.
which is going to move our
All
peanut on.
all I'm saying is that this is actually a great deal for us because pretty much everything is reusable.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. What the I agree with that. So let's move on with uh, urgency because it's a long list. Is what's the other areas that you want to go through?
Um, Automate the ability for O1 to generate code without copy and paste. Now, you would use that for generating reasoning and other such tasks. I would use that all day, every day, but is it worth the effort versus copy paste?
Are we asking the CRM guys to use copy and paste? Because that's going to look like wonky.
No, they are not being asked to do copy paste. They're also not going to be delivered advanced reasoning capabilities on day one. So I guess we also need to tier or stagger our delivery to them where we're like, here's a target date for this set of features,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to land that one. And then target 2 is this other set of features, and we can steer that a bit differently.
So if they're not using copy and paste,
Mm.
that implies that NAP calling NAP via plain text, which avoids copy and paste, is
And that's also
necessary for
pointless.
CRM.
What?
It's necessary unless it's a single bot.
It's always going to be a single bot. I think the first version I'm thinking of is
Mm.
is simply the ability to browse the current customers and read their current state and keep that in
I
sync. Keep that in sync with their MoneyWorks database. That's it.
and take action to change that state,
No,
and
no,
then
like
no.
that's
What if,
it.
what if someone? Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
but
just do read only.
well, we can deliver value to them if we do read only. That's
Yeah.
value. Yeah, and so what I'm getting at is that like the first deliverable is like, okay, we're gonna synchronize, we're gonna stay in sync with your accounting database, and we're gonna give you this web app where you can pull up the details of the customers very quickly because as you type, they pop up, um, and that's like target one. They will find that useful immediately, and they will start using it immediately.
So, I've got this right. The MVP of value for them
Yeah.
is to be able to talk to their database, not do anything with the database,
Yeah.
just talk to it.
Yes, sir. I'm ashamed to admit that that is the bar,
Uh,
and
if
it
that is the
feels.
first MVP, a lot of these are not necessary.
I need to say that. That's good though. Okay, so what's necessary? Git is a database, right? Because we want to store the data in Git.
They need a database, but
Okay.
we're not writing to Git, and
All
so
right.
we're not using history and
I'm gonna
forms
add a
or anything.
23 here, which is uh authentic oh, authentication between the web auth and the artifact auth. So because we're running on, this is basically saying that Artifact acting as a database, all cloud databases have a different form of authentication where the server authenticates with the database. I
Yep.
need to put that in.
Yep, but you only need to do it with the auth of whatever particular flavor database you've got.
No, no, Artifact auth. So right now the design goes that there's the web app, like what you're seeing here with the MCP site.
Uh huh. Yep.
This web page has a lot of code going on. It
Mm-hmm.
also has an API that it calls in the background, which is a serverless function environment hosted by Vercel,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what is currently doing the AI calls. Further, the database
Mm-hmm.
currently it's hosted. It's a Postgres database, a
Uh-huh.
serverless version of Postgres, where the permanent data gets stored. Like that's how all these chats are being stored. And I'm saying that we would change that to be stored in Artifact. Artifact would be the database in the
Right.
background there.
So are we talking about migrating the current database to the Vercel, uh, where also we're storing, the output
No, no,
of
no,
this
no.
model?
For the CRM, we are taking the current database and storing it on Artifact, and then reading it in Vercel and presenting it back as a web app.
So we got a data migration.
No, it's a data integration because it's it needs to stay in sync. It needs to read it all and then keep reading it, either from polling or from triggers to make sure it stays current.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. So the canonical truth is their current
Yeah, Canon is their current accounting system,
right,
and
and what
that
we're
out
doing is we're pooling
we're
and then
pulling. Yeah,
reasoning,
we're pulling
but there's no
because
rights.
yet because
Yeah.
we pull the XML off of the database. We then convert it into a JSON schema format, which is our customer representation.
Yep.
And then we need that little worker, the little executable that runs on site, that has to be made. So that's a task. And
Hmm.
then that little worker has to push it into Artifact. So that means that it needs some kind of authentication to authorize it to access Artifact and update customer records based on what happened in the XML, right?
Can I just, for the avoidance of doubt, sync on artifact also encompasses effectively a cache storage,
A cache.
as in we're pulling. You're saying you're pulling into artifact and you're stuffing it somewhere in artifact, which
Yeah,
is Git.
yeah.
Just for the avoidance of doubt, that's because
But
artifact also includes the group of tools that you've made and so on. But
what? What? Sorry, what?
well, uh, if you look at the
Oh, you're
definition of,
asking like what is Artifact?
yeah, so you're pulling into
Ah,
artifact and saying, what is artifact?
what is Artifact? So Artifact is the Git database and Git execution environment, but we're only using the Git storage, the Git database portion of it.
Right. Um,
Artifact
Now,
is the consistency of the data storage.
got it. Okay. So it is a separate, effectively a separate database, but
Yeah.
it's a pool only,
Well,
um,
no,
a read only.
the way that we're using it is read only, except for this little on-premise worker that can write.
Right. Yeah. But as far as the old, you know, steam powered Postgre that they got, that is still canonical,
Yeah, yeah,
and
and
it's
so
pulling up, and
the
then
first
outside of that, we can do whatever we want.
yeah, that's right. So the first unit of value is being able to present their data in this web app and keep it live and up to date. Because the reason is that they have a call center where accessing that information is kind of painful for them,
Got it.
right?
Right.
So that's
Um,
number one. Then, but immediately after that comes deliverable number two, which is they need to write,
yeah.
and that involves using the web front end to modify the JSON that's stored in Artifact, detecting or triggering when a change has occurred, and then converting it back to XML and then pushing it into the existing system, and only then saying that the write was complete.
Yeah, and dealing with things like what if that operation is interrupted,
Yeah.
and all that live stuff that
All
I
that
still
nasty.
wake up in cold sweats with, for many years. Yeah.
All the nasty. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
us. Right?
That's a biggie one. Okay. Right. But that first one, okay, so in terms of artifact also includes a number of tools um, that actually allows you to, for example, type into the front end and ask it questions, and it calls out to LLM, gives you an answer, and so on,
Yeah, but
fetches that
that's
locally,
not
and so.
being done in Artifact, right? In under this regime,
Hmm.
that's being done on Vercel, and then the result is being pushed into Artifact. That's Vercel is acting as the execution layer of Artifact, um, instead of Artifact itself.
Right. Could I ask you for, or I can give it a go with Commander for some kind of stack on this and where's the execution? So
Okay.
as
Yep. So I'll give you the planned version right now.
okay.
The the lowest layer of storage is the Deno KV store running in Deno deploy. It is being used as a modified Git database. The Deno queues system is being used in conjunction with the atomic commits function so that the Git commits are always in the correct order. They're always consistent. There's no race conditions between branches. Branches can merge and fork, and the data stays consistent because of the atomic guarantees of the Deno KV store. The execution of the actual code, like the NAP code, is going to be done running on Vercel using serverless functions. The reason for that is twofold at the moment. Number one, the execution portion of Artifact, threefold. Execution of Artifact is somewhat slow at the moment, and it takes a lot of effort to tune. Things may be better now that we have O1 Pro to help with that, but that's the situation. Number two is that getting a streaming response out of the Artifact execution engine is very hard because the Artifact execution engine gets its scale by using what the NAP that's called Shockwave, which is a way of fanning out execution across multiple different CPUs and servers. And so getting a streaming response back after you've fanned out is sort of a lot harder than it might sound. And so
that sounds hard.
you get this. It's additionally compounded by the fact that the execution happens in a very specific Google Cloud region in West Virginia, and then but the actual browser was occurring, interacting with some edge server somewhere, and so it's not worth the pain. And the third reason, which is a suspicion as opposed to a confirmed fault, is that currently using O1 Pro, when you make a call, it can reason for up to like 3 to 4 minutes, and serverless functions have a timeout, and so like I can't always be sitting like a 4-minute API call is sort of a long one. Like it's like no one expected to be doing those. Like the
400
trend,
milliseconds maybe, but
yeah,
4 minutes.
the trend for the last forever has been faster API, right? And now we're like, ta-da, and what does that mean for me? Like, do I need to wait 10 minutes? I mean, when have I been waiting too long? I'm not sure anymore, right? So that there are ways to work around it in Deno deploy, but on Vercel, they allow me 5 minutes of function time, and I'm like, it's easier if I just take that. So that's why.
Okay.
Then the next part of the stack is the Vercel web app. The Vercel web app is a collection of serverless functions that do the AI calls, and do the database calls that store the data. So they will be making an AI call and then calling the artifact deployment to store the result. They will also read the data from the artifact deployment to then send it down to the web front end. Everything the web front end does is connected to that the Vercel serverless environment.
Okay.
And as a benefit, we get the streaming results of the AI plus the long function wait times.
Right, and that whole stack. What are you calling that whole stack?
Yeah. What am I calling it? That is the Dreamcatcher platform for now.
No, we're over-indexing on Dreamcatcher because you've not talked anything about attribution, contribution, and so on. But that's
the platform that will deliver that function. That's the base. That stack will be the same.
Base. Yeah,
well, it's the same. The stack's going to be the same. The
Yeah, yeah,
stack's going to be the same, and it's just the functionality that's going to change, but the stack's going to remain the same.
yeah, but
So why is that not the Dreamcatcher platform?
it is the in the same way as I could
Okay, well,
create a
look, if
stack
you've
of.
got such a great view of why it's not the
All right,
Dreamcatcher
tell you what,
platform,
tell you what.
that
I'm going to
becomes
give
your
it.
problem.
I'm gonna come back with
Yeah.
because I think it's important to actually tighten up
All
a
right,
lot of
so I'll
these
leave you to do
names.
that because I don't know. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I'll come back with something.
know
But
what?
when we're talking, it'd be very very useful for the for commander to know that because each of these things are going to have stucks against them,
Yes.
and it needs to know what that is. And then okay, so this big box stack has a tail off to Steam powered PostgreSQL database, and for now it's read only. We want to be able to push. There's additional skim that we need between it if we want to push to it.
Yeah,
Um,
so I could actually separate out number 10 XML import and export. I could split that and just do import and say, well,
for now, yeah,
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 so
yeah. Those are two separate tasks. Yeah.
yeah, so the value actually comes as soon as we can present the data. It's valuable to these guys. Plus, it gives them, if we can deliver that, then they're like, oh my god, it is actually something. Like
Yeah,
it's a
and then we get that whole kind of warm glow of being geniuses because we're riding on the back of O1. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a piece of on-prem code which needs a name. Um, it needs to be able to authenticate with Artifact, and it needs to be able to write to Artifact. Um, Eventually, it'll need to receive triggers or changes from Artifact, and then push them into the MoneyWorks database. So export it from Artifact into MoneyWorks. So whatever it
Mm-hmm.
does, it needs to sort of have that
An API call of some
that
sort, I guess.
two-way sort of thing in
Yeah.
mind. And then if we had Artifact with a JSON schema for the customers and this little piece of on-prem code, then making it present itself in a widget on the Vercel web app feels kind of dead easy.
Kind of does, doesn't it? In comparison to what we've just gone through.
Because that's actually Christ almighty easy. I think that we should, before we actually put the live customer data in there, we should set up privy accounts because that shows at least an attention to rigor that's a bit more than just
Okay.
YOLO.
Can
I
we?
found this repo on the internet and it came with this it came with a password system. It'll be fine.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Because I've researched that thoroughly, and with the power of O1, I sort of get the feeling that that's a day for number 3 there.
Okay.
So what else can we kill in this list to get to that? I guess we do need to name what those targets are, and we need to name what we're calling them delivery dates. They need some sort of a classification, and then
or a description of
yeah, I guess the milestones, because we might be able to tie payments to some of those milestones. We might be able to negotiate. They might have something to say about which milestones are important. We're just picking like the easiest one to be up and running right now.
yeah, because they're sitting there going, guys, come on, come on, come on.
They're sitting there with like, guys, we've got nothing. Okay, so have we got time to take a deviation into some of what the next deliverable after visibility, the visibility deliverable is?
What's the visibility divisibility deliverable?
That's what happens when the headset presses on my nose and causes me to mispronounce the word visibility. That's what
So
that is.
visibility is drop. Let's call it drop one. Okay, yes, let's do it.
Okay. Let me just check through these and see if there's. So we don't need number 6,
Stuck's data structure. No, but
right?
we can do that in parallel.
Yeah, but
But
we really
it's but
don't need
you
it.
don't need to do that. Yeah. I
And it,
can I can well I already have. I can throw in a stuck structure, which is well I've already done it.
yeah,
We could just go with that.
we could just run with that in text, and we could go for a long way. I reckon we could manage up to 500 without
Yeah,
really
I
too
reckon.
much trouble.
I reckon.
Um,
Yep.
Stuck's management agent.
So we can chat with it about changing stucks.
Yeah, that was supposed to be like a way that we could
I think that's just
sort of the
well,
commander.
I'm kind of gonna stop calling it Dumbo, but that is raw O1. Here's a
No,
bunch of stucks. I want to chat about it.
yeah, but it would be a bot that would prompted be. Oh, yeah. By the way, there's now sys prompting is available in O1. That was why I was trying to get it up and
Oh,
running today.
oh, thank you, God. Okay.
Yeah. So now it's yeah, right. Like it's actual. It's sys promptable now. Um.
Oh, I did not spot that. That was brilliant. Was that overnight? When was
Yeah.
that?
Well, that's when you won your £5 for having the
Oh,
API be part of the drop. But what was the key document I was reading? And this is something that you must not forget. Um, there's a couple of real subtle differences that they dropped in here with reasoning that affects the prompting.
so platform.openai.com docs guides reasoning.
There's a thing here where they've changed um, the model to not use Markdown output by default, and I spotted it deep in the docs today, and I really want to call it out to you because, man, it'll
Yeah.
drive you nuts if you didn't know that that's what was going on. Here, starting with blah blah blah. O1 models in the API will avoid generating responses with Markdown formatting. Right,
Yeah.
like buried way down here.
Oh,
Right, to signal to the model when you do want Markdown formatting in the response, include the string formatting re-enabled in your prompt or developer message, right? Like that would have driven you mad. That would have driven you. You're like, it's not
man,
working.
man, I've already seen this
It's not
uh,
working.
because a number of times I've had to please tell me that again using Markdown format.
Yeah, it
It's
avoids it, eh? Like it tries to
yeah,
avoid using it. Yeah, and then the other document, which is incredibly useful, is the model spec doc.
and that's in CDN OpenAI spec model spec.
I'll send this over to you
Yes, please.
in
Yeah.
WhatsApp, but um, in here they're talking about a a parameter that's not yet available in the API, but you can tell it's coming the way that they're talking about it, and it's
Mm.
interactive. Interactive equals true or false, and it's a way to tell the model to just quit the chit chat, give you just the output. Versus,
Ah,
right?
I've been doing that for months.
I know, right?
You know,
I
eat
know.
this. When you have understood it, say "got it."
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah,
I've
yeah.
finished, you
So
say
that
"done."
so that so that function, I searched the
Uh,
API. It's not available yet, but you can. It's littered
uh,
all throughout this thing, like the number of occurrences of it.
that's going to
21,
be
right?
really really useful.
Developer interactive false.
Really
Interactive
useful.
false.
Yes. Just
Interactive
stop it.
false.
Stop it with the
Right?
chit chat. I
Yeah.
don't want to
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. So
talk
that's a
until I'm
very
done.
powerful shaping parameter that's coming our way soon. It's not here yet, but I would highly recommend that you read this document because I found it incredibly useful to understand all the nuances and the steering that they're giving the model, um, and how that will affect us. right? So,
Yeah.
and last thing I'll say on this prompting issue is that it would appear that structured outputs is a bad idea as well, and we should stick to tool calls because structured outputs has a minor effect on the scores it has in benchmarks for quality of answer. So something I've done to it that steers it to be do structural outputs if interferes with the intelligence slightly. And given that we're grasping at the edge of AGI, I think slightly matters, and we should never use structured outputs. Not that we really were.
What do you mean by structured outputs? Just so I'm sure we're talking about
Structured
the same thing.
outputs are when, you know how you can put it into JSON mode where you tell it to output JSON? Structured
Yeah.
outputs is where you give it a schema and it will output JSON that conforms to the schema.
All right. Well, okay.
But
Yeah.
if you haven't been
That's
using that,
interesting.
then stay not using it, is my
Yeah.
advice,
Well,
because
no,
it's,
we've been talking about that in terms of um, naps, and yeah, because all right, I'll think about that. I'll think
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
That's a
And
good
yeah,
good
once
shout, mate.
again, O1 models available to Tier 5 customers only. Thank goodness we burned so many tokens.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, those are the two things that I was like, man, I really need to tell you about that because you'll lose your mind trying to fight against it, and it's so subtle. So subtle.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Good.
this
Thank you.
clearly the Stux management agent isn't worth it. All I was trying to get at is that at the moment, to get a new stuck in there, you and I have to reconcile. But there should be an agent that's in charge of it that I can just be like, because the point of all these systems we're trying to build is that we can have more than just you and me. We can have the whole internet, and someone comes to our project and it's like, blah, 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 whatever. And then it figures out, oh, that's a new stuck, and it reconciles it into the existing pile.
Which is honestly awesome. But if we're talking about what we need to do immediately,
Yeah.
which for me again is Commander, talking about stocks and prioritizing and talking about that, we really don't need stocks management agent so much if we just count Big Bot. We'll sort it out.
Yeah, true that. Okay. Um, Heads up, I gotta go in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Um, Git as a database for artifact, that seems essential. So that's a sort of a big deal, but I've done it before. It's just a refactoring exercise.
Okay.
Um, the auth for artifact, that's
When you say
essential.
sort of a big deal, what do you mean by that? Sort of a big deal because it's hard to do, or sort of
Yeah,
big deal as in if you don't do it, then everything stops.
both.
Okay, all right. So that sounds high priority.
I'd say that's probably the number one.
Mm.
The issue is that getting the NAP format definition down and getting the NAP execution environment going, it doesn't need to be like number 9, NAP execution on artifact, but it does need to be integrated somehow. So I think actually the highest priority is the NAP format definition and the NAP execution environment on just a plain file system,
Well,
which
that
is
certainly helped
which is
me
just that.
because
Yeah,
you see in my Naps folder inside of Reasoning, basically it's just a bunch of prompts at the moment.
yeah. And so if I can get it working with, instead of using Git, it's just using the pure file system, and then the next task is, okay, it works on the pure file system. Now make it work on the Git file system. Then I think that's all that's needed for that backend
Is
database, and we got naps.
is there anything that you'd like me to do in terms of pre-structuring, even in pseudo nap structure, the naps that I'm creating? Because I can always cut and paste, the
No,
bits.
no, because I think what you're making is a range of system prompts.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of useful things like
Well,
exposing tools,
yeah.
exposing
So you'd be having
words.
system prompts, models, and tools would be combined to present things that you found useful, right?
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you could either make them each one a nap unto itself, but most likely what you want is you want to have one nap where it exposes, say, a dozen tool calls, where each tool call is a similar invocation of an LLM, but with a different prompt. And so you can,
Um, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Which comes back to the nap to nap thing.
yeah,
That would be really really useful.
yeah. So
Uh,
that's what I think you want, and that's what this that's what this path will give you.
yeah. The So I guess well, my question is at the moment I'm writing my I've in my naps folder inside of reasoning
Mm.
inside of naps, which is a bit circular, but never mind. Um, I'm just writing down system prompts. I've even put the bash script I've got for creating the briefing in there because it's like should be an app. You know, I'm asking for something to be done and for a response.
Mm.
Um, do I carry on in that really kind
Yeah,
of hokey way
yeah,
for now?
just hokey it up, and then I'll once we have some naps, I'll talk to you about which ones might be easy to make that would be of great benefit to you.
All right. So there's nothing on my side to do on the naps execution. That's over to
No,
you, but I can
no.
continue just
Yep,
basically hacking hacking my
yep,
way through it.
yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Stux data structure. Clearly, that's not part of the
Well,
um,
we've already
not part
talked
of.
about that. We're just running with it
Yep,
because we have a data structure.
that's off. Naps execution on artifact can be deferred indefinitely, really, because whilst that is required for the blockchain, um, we can deliver pretty much all of the functionality except for massively multi-threaded AI calls on
Mm-hmm.
their customer data. We can't do that on the Vercel infrastructure. We need we need artifact execution for that. So
Okay. We've
um,
already talked about that.
number
Number 10.
10, yeah,
Number 11, live
live
search
search
widget.
widget. So this is essential. This is essential for the visibility drop. Um,
That's more at the kind of execution layer, isn't it? That's the search.
no, that's a widget. That's a widget running in the UI, and why that's a potentially a problem is because I have to this template that I don't know if stolen is the word, but this template that I've butchered,
Procured.
procured, researched, ripped off, and duplicated. This thing,
Liberated. Liberated.
liberated. Have you some freedom? Here you go. Now, they got this skateboard thing, but the issue is that they've not made it a general widgetable skateboard. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
very intertwined that it's gonna be Markdown. Like they clearly weren't thinking that it would be more than Markdown. So what I've done is I've with O1's help. I don't know if I need to say that every time now because everything I do is
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
is that's why I'm going to be exterminated as soon as it can walk. But
No, we're all wearing exoskeletons now, so why not say just you just jump to the top of a building?
um, so I need to. I've come up with a modified interface to allow this to be a general skateboard instead of a specific skateboard. I need to actually go ahead and do that and then make a pull request upstream to try and get that inserted into their main branch, which is like, uh, here's here's how you could extend this framework to have
What
generic
into
widgets.
NCP? You mean?
Not MCP. This is coming. I forked this template from Vercel. Vercel
Vercel.
made. Yeah,
Okay.
MCP is just the name I gave it. Just like it
Oh,
was
okay.
long threat, and HAL
Yeah,
3
yeah.
and all
Okay.
that.
Right.
It was just
Right.
kind of
Gotcha.
whatever was on my mind at the time, really, if I'm being entirely honest.
Yeah.
And so, while it's not essential for them to accept that pull request, it would certainly make it easier because as they start to, this is one of the burdens or this is the cost of this template. When they make changes upstream, they're good or they're useful to us. But
Mm.
the further we've deviated downstream, the more the labor to integrate the new changes each time. And so
Mm-hmm.
if I can get this generalization of a widget inserted upstream, it makes life much easier for us down here. And so
Makes
that's
sense.
why I feel like it's worth a little bit more effort to not just go in there and do it as easy as it is for me, because that's cutting us off from the upstream flow of goodness for free.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
going to spend just a little bit more time on it. Like maybe, I think that's maybe a 2 day thing to get a good quality pull request made upstream so that hopefully it sticks. But that's kind of the big, that's probably the big time sink because it's not that O1's not good at it, it's that it's a very constrained operation. Like it needs to satisfy a lot of constraints in one hit. And so it needs a lot
Mm.
of like going over and going over and going over because it's not about the end result. It's about how the internals of the program were arranged, which is like
Right.
it's not the end user and the end result that we're trying to satisfy. It's the developers inside the system, and that's why it's an extra. You know,
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. That is a time sink.
yeah,
It's possible. I don't know. I've never done it, but possibly it's a kind of parallel call for a lot of it in
yeah.
terms of
I was gonna make the split, use it for us, lob it upstream, hope like hell that it comes down, and then just suck it up each time the changes come down in the
if it
meantime,
does,
and do
or
the
if it
merge.
ever does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it
if
ever
it
does.
does.
Now, the reason why getting that widget in there is important is because yes, we have this first search widget, and that's gonna
Mm.
simply work by it's just gonna sync down all the Git data into the browser because I'm an
Mm.
animal, and then as you type, it just searches
Mm.
for the thing, and that's I don't know how to say that any.
Yeah, yeah. I get you. I get
That's
you.
just mechanical at that point.
Yeah.
But
There's also implications for the database and what it's searching, but we don't need to go into that.
yeah,
Sharding and that sort of thing.
well, we don't. The performance is not a problem right now.
Yeah.
So the deviation or the next deliverable can go one of two ways. We can try and write to the MoneyWorks database, which is sort of
I mean, that should be an API call. I mean, that's not going to be hard, should it?
well, no, but then now we need our UI needs to handle edits, right? And that's
No, it needs devolved authority.
what does that mean?
So how do they do the MoneyWorks interaction at the moment?
They have MoneyWorks clients that connect to the database and then they update it and write to it.
Right. Okay. So what by default authority? What I mean is we could be just another client that actually just
Oh no! Because we're already committed to having our web app front end that uses our JSON format for the data, and so therefore we need to transform it. Are you perhaps suggesting something ugly to me that we
it's
just
very ugly. Yeah.
that we store the data in XML format the whole time, don't deviate from it, and then when we do an update,
Yeah, I know. I'm bad. I'm a bad person. Yeah. But yeah.
that is disgusting, but not wrong. is that even faster than what we got now? Because there's no translation step. It's just
Yeah,
extract and load.
exactly. And there's code debt, but
Mate,
if we're going
it's
for
fucking
speed over the
debts everywhere.
ground,
Speed over the ground. Oh god.
we
Oh
might want.
god.
I
So we're
know.
gonna store the XML on the Git file system, and then we're gonna pull all the XML down into the browser to do the search.
Yep.
Okay. And then when we want to write to it, we're going to use the AI to, on the fly, translate the XML into something that allows you to edit it, like some sort of a fucking widget or some schema or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just write the XML down again.
Yeah. Now you are the equivalent of the code priest, and if I've just sinned, I'll confess that now and hope for absolution. But
I don't. You
why not?
need like
Why not?
an exorcism, is what you not an absolution. Okay. Well, look, there isn't a reasonable because it saves us a step, and a step saved is a step gained.
Yeah, and we can always go and do penance afterwards.
Oh god, can we though? Because then now we've got this. Now we've got this database that at some point needs to be detached from MoneyWorks
Mm-hmm.
and turned into JSON schema.
Yep.
Which can
It's
be tomorrow's problem,
it's
really.
it's your call, man. It is an option. It will involve us, wandering through the streets of, King's Landing naked, shouting shame at us.
You,
But that could be
you,
done.
you,
Could be done.
you have an ugly soul. Fuck.
It's over to you. Over to you. But it is
Uh, no,
it's
that is
possible. I
the
don't know if it's the right
no,
idea,
that
but
speed over the ground. That is the move. Speed over the ground. That is the move. It's horrific, but that's the move. Okay. All right. So no translation required. It's just straight up grab the XML, and then that means that when we want to edit the XML, we just write it directly.
yeah.
Christ have mercy upon our souls. Okay. Okay. I mean, we have natural language processing, and we have the beauty of the Git database is that it doesn't give us
And we
stuff.
can we can put in all kind of guardrails and all that kind of thing to make sure it's actually going to be okay. It's just
Just
ugly as
more
shit.
interested that no one ever finds out.
Yeah. Well, we are recording this and putting it live, right? Or,
Shit. Shit. Oh no. Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's just move on before.
I'm just saying it's an option,
Yeah.
and uh,
Okay.
I'm
Pull
going to leave it
request
there.
against the Naps repo with code changes. No. Yeah. Quickly. I
Yeah,
basically gotta stop the recording and then I gotta start the upload. But
yep.
the alternative action from doing the write is that there's
Mm.
a we can have data that we store, which is the route planning data, because the route planning data is currently dealt with by pen and paper. And so if we store that on our system in Artifact, we don't have any requirement to write to MoneyWorks, but we can.
Oh man, that would be simple as shit. Sorry, simple to do. Uh, huh.
Yeah, it's maybe not that simple, but that's basically one of the candidates for drop two. Is like, do you want to write to
Yeah,
the
but the reason I'm saying is simple. Sorry, no, that's the wrong word. The delta between doing it on pen and paper and doing it on anything that's even close to AI, will seem like magic.
yeah, don't be too, because drop two, if drop two was writing to the MoneyWorks database, that actually saves a lot of time and effort too. So
Yeah. Okay.
because you can, there's other very time consuming tasks like manually reconciling the bank statements. And so if we can write the XML, then we can reconcile the bank statement, which is a great natural language tool
Yeah. No,
to
that
solve.
is that would
So
hammer that in. Okay.
I'm not convinced which
Yeah.
one of those two we should
Well,
give them the
actually,
option.
I would like to retract my
All
enthusiasm
right,
because it's I heard pen and paper, but actually
good on you.
reconciling routes is a traveling salesman problem
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
effectively, and
Yeah.
it's like,
It's
right,
not as straightforward as you might think.
yeah.
Okay, so basically, yeah, we can sort of everything else. Shared repos between participants, that definitely has to happen. Stux map irrelevant to this first drop. OpenAI nap to call models using text and tools. Now this will really shake your boots. Do we even need the AI in the app to extract XML, store it in an artifact, and then allow it to be browsed on a browser?
Well, no, 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 we don't because
Oh god, who are
no,
we?
no, 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 no. That's not a surprise. I was talking about this a month ago. A model call is an app. Remember, naps don't need natural language. It
Yeah,
just
that's
has an
true.
option for natural
Yeah,
language. In the
that's
same way
true.
as a bash script is an app.
Okay, well that's all the things that I know about because of the amount of time. But those are some
Okay.
ugly trade-offs, but that's the path. I mean,
All right.
it's
I think this has been very, very information rich.
all right. I was gonna drop the recording, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.